All right, let's get into audience questions for the week. This one I got in many forms from a lot of different people. How the hell did Trump gain nearly 10 million votes since 2016, given the disaster of his presidency? This is a really interesting one because there's a couple of different angles to it. Now, at the same time that there are people on the left saying, how on earth would more people vote for Trump this time than last time? You have people on the right saying, clearly there was election fraud because there's no way Joe Biden would get so many more votes than Trump had in 2016, never mind more votes than Trump had in 2020. So you do have people on both sides just looking at the popular vote numbers and saying this is something about this doesn't make sense. The first thing, before we even talk about politics and pandemic, economy, all of these different things, it turns out that when it's easier to vote, more people vote. That's what we learned undoubtedly in this election. And when you had increased early voting and most importantly, allowing in just about every state, anybody who wants an absentee ballot to get an absentee ballot and to be able to vote by mail because of the pandemic, because of the risk of catching coronavirus, where previously many states said, if you want an absentee ballot, it has to be one of these rules. You physically can't make it. You're out of the country, whatever. We changed that logically because of the pandemic to be much more open to whoever wants to just not go to the polls. And it turns out that we were right all along. The left was right all along. There is a desire for more voting in the United States. Not everybody, not 100% turnout. But if you make it easier for people to vote, more people vote. And that's not a particularly good thing for the Republican Party. But that's part one. So both Donald Trump and Joe Biden got huge amounts of votes, never before seen in any presidential election. Then the question becomes a political question, which is, given that Trump had his 2016 base and he screwed everything up. I mean, he screwed up healthcare, pandemic response, trade policy, immigration policy. We could go on and on all day. How did he get more people to vote for him this time around? And there's a couple of different things that we have to account for. No one of these is the answer. Number one, the power of incumbency is a real thing. When we say it's hard to knock off an incumbent president, it's because it's very hard to knock off an incumbent president. When you are the president and you're flying around in Air Force One and people are comparing a president to a non-president, that will counteract a lot of the reasons that if you were merely a challenger, people might not vote for you. This risk averse, don't change horses midstream, particularly for people who are not very politically engaged. It takes a lot more to get people over the hump to vote to remove the existing president. That's just a reality, and that's a part of it. The other thing is there are people who wrote to me. They said, one of the things that happened is almost inadvertently Trump ran less and did less racist stuff in the last 6 to 12 months because of his focus on the virus. I don't know that that's the case. I mean, first of all, from the China plague, Kung flu stuff to Cory Booker, black senator will end the suburbs and minorities are going to pour in and end the suburbs as you know them. I'll stop low income housing. There were plenty of racist dog whistles going on. But what is true is that there was less Hispanic related xenophobia. Maybe you could make the case Trump didn't run as much on the wall. Remember, the 2016 campaign was launched in 2015 on Trump coming down the escalator and saying, Mexico's not sending their bests. We're going to stop the rapists and all these people from coming over. Trump was less overtly about that because he was very worried about other types of xenophobia. And case in point, Trump did end up with a larger share of the Hispanic vote in 2020 than he did in 2016. So I think that that's a factor. The other idea I have is, could the virus, as disastrous as Trump's handling was of the virus, could it have somehow in a backwards way helped Trump with minority voters in that there are many working class folks, including those without college degrees. This applies both to white voters without college degrees and minority voters. But Trump already had the white voters without college degrees who saw, hey, this is a good economy, service sector, etc. and it's being shut down, and I see Trump fighting to open it. Is there some way in which that resonated not just with Trump's uneducated white base, with the minority voters without college degree? Maybe so. But again, it would all be merely by chance. I think that that's the important thing to keep in mind. Bottom line, we have every reason to believe that this number of votes really was cast. Donald Trump did get millions more votes than 2016. Joe Biden got millions more votes than that and received more votes for president than any candidate in history. And we will be analyzing those results and thinking about them for much time to come. If you love feeding your intellectual curiosity, but you're always struggling to find the time, check out one of my all-time favorite apps called Blinkist. Blinkist lets you consume an entire book on your way home from work. They take thousands of popular nonfiction books, condense each one into text or audio that you can get through in just 15 minutes, and you get all of the important core ideas and information from that book. It's perfect if you don't have enough time to do all the reading you want to do, or if you just want to sample a book before you buy the entire thing. I recently read A Brief History of Time, of course, by the great Stephen Hawking. This is a book that I have been aware of for so long, and other things got in the way, and it was fantastic to check it out on Blinkist. Blinkist has books on politics, philosophy, science. They have 27 different nonfiction categories, and a subscription is only about $8 a month, and you get the entire library. But you can try it totally free and get 25% off a subscription when you go to Blinkist.com/Pakman. I've put the link right underneath this video.